Hey everyone, welcome to week 57, day 4. This is Thursday. This is our 4th day of our ongoing space before figure week, where we've been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking our figure, and we're trying to see how that affects the usual relationships, the usual dynamics that were inherent to my own painting, and how that is kind of transforming. So it's pretty exciting. We'll see how we do today.
Okay, let's get started. This is going to be day 4. This is the 4th day of our ongoing space before figure, where it seems like we are prioritizing space. But I think that yesterday we realized that if we strip the attention that we usually granted to the figure, because that's what I would think my painting can be understood as, if we strip all that energy and we just kind of dissipate it, we dissolve it through the painting, what happens to the painting? Is that energy, is that attention all absorbed by the space, by all the surrounding elements? Maybe not. Perhaps not. And I know that yesterday seems like a very abstract notion, because how can a painting be essentially bland? If you describe something as like the mayonnaise of painting, the most vanilla painting ever, where there's not much happening in areas of the painting where you would expect things to happen. In a regular painting, any great painting, you are usually entranced by the painting. The painting will have an immediate impact on you, and then it just captures you, and then you travel through the painting, usually in manners in which the painter decided that you should travel. These are the roads that were constructed by the painter, and she wanted you to traverse the painting with a certain pace, with certain rhythms. And that is how a painter can be a great director of a painting. Eventually you feel, these roads, you've walked down these roads inside these paintings for a long time, and you start thinking that this painting, well, it doesn't belong to you. It's not like we are taking ownership of the painting, but you feel at home with the painting. And you want to start carving your own road, and you want to start creating your own mythos, and you want to start writing your own stories. So it's not so much about appropriation, but perhaps it's more about reflecting our own experiences onto the painting, and then they bounce back, and we just start generating stories from that interaction. And that's a wonderful thing. But what happens when you put all the energy as an observer, and then the response, it's like a very subtle gasp. You're kind of slowly experiencing the air just flow out of this painting. Never mind a painting, how does an image like that work? Where you're expecting to be wowed, where you're expecting to put all of your breath into this painting, but suddenly this balloon has a tiny little hole and it's letting all that air out. How would that work? That doesn't make sense. In my mind, that's like a definition of a bad painting. And it's so strange because yesterday I realized that while exploring the limits of something, you are going to encounter those moments where you realize, wait a minute, this is where this preconceived set of rules tell me that the effective image has limits. And past those limits, well, it's not going to be a great image. It's going to be a faulty image. It's going to be full of deficiencies. Nobody wants that, right? When we're judging a painting, we are fundamentally judging it as an image, and it has to be powerful and it has to communicate. It has to do that intrinsically. So if we take some of those things away, we are essentially just draining the power from that image. And this is the part that is probably the most baffling to me. Because here I am, I've been a teacher for the past over 16 years, and I taught at a fine art faculty for over 12 years. So my instinct is to construct my judgment based on what makes an image powerful. And if those variables are not there, I am gonna, again, instinctually just deem it as a weak image. But how can a weak image also be intended? I never thought I would explore that. What if the image speaks about weakness? What if what you're trying to do is stretch something so much that the force that is holding the elements together is just so very thin, it becomes this veil. It becomes like a very fragile painting. But how does a fragile painting that is not, overtly exhibiting its fragility, how does that painting survive? These are all the questions that came from an exercise. And I guess one could say, oh my God, you're getting all of this from just making a painting that is balanced in its numbness, maybe, in its nothingness. There was an expectation in the painting. Like everything was built so that up top, you could have a punchline. So that up top, you could find that pot of gold. That yellow raincoat was such an easy win. The painting set it up for me, and all I had to do was just swing the bat and just hit a home run. It would have been so easy. It would have been so expected. I realized that, wait a minute. This was supposed to be cake. This was supposed to be super easy for me. The tip of that iceberg, the peak of that pyramid, was this beautiful yellow, not the most saturated, but, within my gray painting, it was probably going to be where the accent of saturation was going to lie in, and it was going to be an interesting shape, yellow raincoat. Who doesn't love like a coralline yellow raincoat? I even did like a whole painting, like a huge painting, based on the traversal of an oversized yellow raincoat. So this is like delicious for me. This would have been perfect. And as soon as I got there, as soon as I traveled through the painting and I got to this place that was supposed to be like, hell yes, we've worked really hard to find this spot and let's just blow it up. Fireworks. Let's just make this really, really interesting. And it's going to be nice. It's one of those things that just works. It's going to be a nice painting, beautiful, perfect. And that's where I stopped myself. I was like, wait. Are we just doing that? Are we just painting that painting that I know how to paint? Are we just remembering that I did a painting that I understood as being very successful and that I really like to paint? I spent weeks, if not month and a half, 2 months painting. Do I just want to relive like a tiny moment of that painting? Do I just want to use that experience and then just, implant it into this painting and hope that it works? Almost like knowing that it will work. Like I know myself, and I know that if I would have given that raincoat like a ton of relevance, yeah, it would have been the painting of the yellow raincoat in that couch. Yeah, period. Like that would have been it. That would have been the way we refer to that painting. It would have been like a shorthand way to understand that painting. So if everything was set up, if all the pins were like perfectly placed, what happened? What went wrong? Nothing went wrong. It's just that I reached that place. I didn't even reach it. I think I saw it when I was walking down that road. So I didn't even have to get close to it to realize where that road was heading. And I told myself, wait. We've done plenty of things like this. We've gotten to that place that's supposed to be an exclamation point, and we've tried to give that exclamation point some sense of relevance through the way we painted. And, we've been successful at it, I would say. We've made paintings where that works. But why another one? Why make another one? What are you going to prove? That you can make another one? And maybe tomorrow we make another one and another one. What does that prove? What does that mean? Consistency? Is that what I was looking for? Just to be consistent throughout my painting? But I wasn't looking for that. Like I've painted hundreds of paintings. I already know where I can be consistent and where I just crash into this wall that is made up of my shortcomings. I know those places by heart. It certainly feels better when you realize you get to a place that you understand as being exemplified by your strengths. Those places where you can shine. And it certainly doesn't feel great when you hit yourself against that wall where you're reminded that you're not as good as you think you are. But I know those two places. I know them by heart. I think that every single painter out there that has some sense of self-knowledge knows those places by heart because we've been to those places. You can't get better at painting. You can't forge a true relationship with painting if you don't know your boundaries, if you haven't traveled really far to recognize that there are plenty of worlds that you're never going to get to explore in this lifetime. When you realize how vast that horizon is, you have a sense of place and you have a sense of understanding who you really are. So yesterday was very important in the sense that I knowingly did something that left this painting open. And I knew how to fix it, but I decided not to. Because, I've always thought that there are possibilities even where we don't expect to find them. that there's always going to be a way to solve things. Where 99 people say that something shouldn't be done, there is always that one artist that found a way. Always, always. And sometimes the answers are incredibly complex. Sometimes it's just such an uphill battle, not to prove everyone wrong, but you realize wow, this is a question that is far more complicated than I anticipated. And it probably takes a lot of work and a lot of time to try to make sense of things. This is not about saying I was right and they were wrong, because painting doesn't work that way. And I realized yesterday, and this was super important for me, that painting has to do with intent. And perhaps yesterday was about a recognition of intent. I thought that I was going to paint a very particular painting, but I realized while I was painting it that there was this hidden place, that there was this tiny little ledge that I could stand on where I could just decide that I was going to be fine there. I mean, it's uncomfortable. I'm visualizing these mountain goats that can rest on the tiniest little lip of a rock. And that's what this painting said to me. I have no clue if those goats are comfortable. When I look at them, I'm like, oh my God, the strain that would be on my legs just trying to hold on to dear life on that tiny little area of a rock that could provide some sense of footing, that would drive me insane. But you always see these goats just chilling there. They're totally fine. I'm sure they've grown accustomed to doing that, but for me, reaching this place in a painting where it's you're right there, right in front of the thing that would just make this painting, like I said, predictable, but it would also make it good. And I started talking with myself and I was like, wait, didn't we speak about this the other day where we were trying to divorce ourselves from picture making? Maybe this is what it feels like. Because you could argue that, come on, you're not divorcing yourself from picture making. You're doing traditional paintings. You're working within this rectangular object that's a piece of paper or a piece of canvas, and that flat three-dimensional object is being abstractly understood as a two-dimensional plane where you are constructing an image that is fully conscious of those boundaries. So, come on, you are making a picture. Don't speak about not making a picture while you are making a picture. Well, why not? Why can't we kind of divorce ourselves from the expectations that there are in picture making while making a picture? That's very weird. Again, I don't think I have answers here. I just think that I'm asking questions while I'm painting. And I think that the coolest thing is that I'm not trying to prove any theories. This is not about me finding an answer to something that I honestly don't think needs an answer. I think the most exciting part of all of this is to paint while I'm asking these questions. So the toughest thing today was to try and carry the questions that arose from the act of painting yesterday and try and do something with them. Am I supposed to do something with them? Am I legally bound to have to do something with them? Should I honor those things that I stumbled upon yesterday? Do I have to do it? No, I don't have to. I think that those questions are never going to leave my mind. It's not like I formulated these questions one day and then the other day I'm like, yeah, I forgot. What happened yesterday? Yeah, it didn't really mean anything. No, my brain is unfortunately full of these questions. It's like a beehive, all those things are going on in my head while I'm painting. So the coolest thing is that, we're able to find peace while our mind is just going a million miles an hour. It's just such a busy mind. And it's so incredible that painting has this effect on me that it can put that mind to rest. I mean, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be able to question things. It's like I said the other day, it's like all these questions that are very loud, they're very scrambled, they all suddenly just turn into this hum that is way underneath the act of painting. It doesn't disturb the act of painting. It's there. I know it's there. It's like, I remember when I was a kid and Our room was in the second floor, but I could listen to this muffled conversation when my parents had somebody over, and I couldn't tell you what the conversation was about, but I recognized that there was a conversation. This presence of people being downstairs. And I think that all these thoughts that are being born from the painting experience are just that. They become part of this constant willingness to explore, of this need to try to know. I was going to say know more, but I don't think it's about knowing more. I don't think this is about the accumulation of knowledge. I don't know. I think it's just about walking, endlessly walking. What happens if I do this? Because if you really think about it, painting is so irrational because the worst thing that can happen to us is a bad painting. That is the worst thing that can happen. If we grant ourselves the right to explore something, the worst possible outcome is going to be a bad painting. That's it. That's it. When you stop for 2 seconds and think about it, and think that the most horrible scenario in all of this is just a bad painting, then why is it so menacing? Why are we so horrified of taking chances when we paint? It's so absurd, right? We're not putting our body or our mind in harm's way. No, we're going to be fine. Maybe our ego is going to be a little beat up when it realizes that it dedicated a bunch of time just to making a bad painting. But that's about it. We can pick ourselves up and we can say, okay, that didn't work. And it's very exciting when we have to untangle the mess that we made and we have to say, where the hell did that go wrong? Like, how did I mess this up? And it's a cool road. This new road opened up and we have to figure out why something didn't work. And that's a road very much so worth taking. There are no downsides to all of this. Even if it's a ridiculous question like yesterday, like how can a bland painting work? Easiest answer would be like, it can't. Next question. And I don't know, my impulses when I was there were, wait. Let me dedicate some time to this. Perhaps somebody else would have said, what are you doing? Don't waste time and energy trying to find different answers to such a simple question. And again, perhaps they're right, but I don't know. I think that painting has also given me the patience to grant myself that time. And I'm never going to think that that time was misused. I'm never going to think that I wasted my time doing this. Not at all. Not at all. So I think today was a little tough because I had those thoughts and I had to try to manage those thoughts while attempting to move forward. Let's call it forward. I mean, forward doesn't mean that we're walking in the right direction, but we're just moving towards the initial intent that we had set out for ourselves. We're following the rules that we had set at the beginning of the week. I had a ton of fun in today's painting, and I wanted to make this horizontal flag of a painting with all these beats, just grounding Dani's figure and then dissolving her reflection. But there was so much visual info on that painting that I could have taken advantage of. And I think what I learned from yesterday was like, you don't have to. Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to paint it or you have to take advantage of it. You don't have to. So all these tiles, all these marks that were going to provide me with a powerful perspective grid that was going to ground this painting. It was going to give a very nice, rich sense of space and depth to this painting. I was like, yeah, what if we sacrifice that? What are we left with? And I think that that's the question that I've been asking myself throughout this week. What am I left with? Because initially, like I said, I thought the space was going to become important. But if I take all that energy and I just kind of slowly stretch it throughout the painting, what am I left with? And I think it's a fascinating question to ask. So that's going to be it for today. I know I need a straitjacket. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to make it till December. We all know it. But I think it's an awesome week. But anyways, that was it for today. We'll see how we finish off tomorrow. I have no idea. I have no clue what can come from these questions. But like I said, I've unburdened myself from the weight of thinking that I have to use all these questions to try to make a killer painting tomorrow. No. Tomorrow I'm just going to paint. And I think that's totally fine. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.